Welcome to CanGeek Games and Collectibles, where we share our love of fandom
while promoting new and pre-owned games, toys, and collectibles available for purchase from CanGeek.com.
Hey everyone, how's it going? It's Scott here from CanGeek Games and Collectibles. Welcome as always to the CanGeek YouTube channel. You're on the road with CanGeek for the week of August the 29th, and we are just removed from having finished Fan Expo 2022 here in Toronto, Canada. Now, this is usually the space where we would present a different type of video. We would walk around a show and give all of you who were unable to attend that event an opportunity to see what that event was like, what it was all about. We'd show you some of the vendors involved in that event, try and get some cosplay pictures in there, things like that. That just wasn't possible with Fan Expo. We tried. We've got a lot of raw footage, and I do mean raw, but we didn't have enough time to actually do that type of video because Fan Expo was crazy busy. And to that point, first of all, I want to thank everybody who stopped by booth 1620 to visit CanGeek Games and Collectibles. We greatly appreciate you coming by to see us. We appreciate your support, and we really want to say thank you right off the top for helping to make Fan Expo for us an unquestionable success. We were so thrilled with how well Fan Expo went for us that we've already opted in to take part in Fan Expo 2023. You can find details about that through our website at CanGeek.com. We're already registered, we're going to be there. But to that point, I want to talk about important lessons learned. So let's do that. So first of all, I want to show you a picture taken from a recent edition of the Mississauga video game show that was held in June of this year. Now this is what our typical setup at most shows will look like. We will rent 3 to 4 tables. Those tables will be anywhere from 18 to 24 feet in length, and we will merchandise those tables with an assortment of board games, video games, toys, and Funko Pops. We also typically have bins under the tables full of additional merchandise, so we utilize as much space as possible to merchandise as much product as possible. Now we're going to take a quick look at our booth from Fan Expo this year. This booth was 8 by 8 in dimensions. We had 2 6-foot tables running both sides of the booth. We had an 8-foot table running the back end of the booth. We had shelving units lining the tops of the tables, and we merchandised those tables with as much product as we possibly could. So this is our booth at Fan Expo 2022. Alright, so now that you've seen what a couple of our typical booth setups look like, let's talk about important lessons learned. The booth setup that we used at Fan Expo this year is basically the same booth setup that we used at Toronto Comic Con this year, with one important exception. Our product offerings changed considerably between Toronto Comic Con and Fan Expo, in the fact that we are now carrying a lot more pre-owned video games than we were carrying in March of this year. So unlike Toronto Comic Con, Fan Expo saw us dedicating almost an entire side of our booth to video games, which is why we put shelving on the tables so that we could build up and merchandise more inventory and not sacrifice that inventory to display the video games that we now carry. Having said that, however, the important lesson learned at Fan Expo is, for us anyways, for the amount of inventory that we take to any given show, never try to do an event like Fan Expo with anything less than 2 booths. Now, we kind of saw this as a problem a couple weeks before Fan Expo, so we got in touch with Informa, which for those of you who don't know is the parent company that runs Fan Expo, and we requested a second booth. Unfortunately, that just wasn't something they could fulfill at that time, which is how we ended up with one 8x8 booth. That worked against us at Fan Expo. We know it did. On the Friday and Saturday specifically, we had a steady flow of traffic coming in and out of our booth with customers, and at certain points we had a lineup of people waiting to get into our booth, and our booth was really narrow, so you could get 3 or 4 people in there. You'd have a lineup of people waiting to get in as people were coming out. Some people waited patiently, some people moved on and never came back, and unfortunately I can't blame them for that. So, you know, the lack of a larger booth worked against us at Fan Expo. So having said that, we got in touch with Informa right after Fan Expo. We have requested a second booth for Toronto Comic Con in March of next year. Fingers crossed, hopefully we get that second booth, and we've already strategically planned ahead and booked 2 booths for Fan Expo 2023 so that we don't encounter this particular issue again. Now, that brings me to the second important lesson learned from Fan Expo. Always have an additional set of hands. So having said that, usually when we're doing shows, it's myself and Chris doing most of the shows on our own. Sometimes we will recruit our 19-year-old son, who some of you will have met at shows like the Oshawa Comic Con or the Mississauga Video Game Show. When available, Alex will come and help us at events. Unfortunately, Fan Expo didn't work into his availability, so it was Chris and I doing that event on our own. Fan Expo and Toronto Comic Con are shows where you always need that additional set of hands. Again, there was a steady flow of traffic coming in and out of our booth. There always had to be 2 of us there helping customers, so it was very difficult to really move away from the booth for any real length of time, which is one of the reasons why this is not your typical on the road with CanGeek video. Neither one of us had time to slap on the wearable camera and walk around and do a video. Fan Expo was too big and too busy. So for both Toronto Comic Con, if we get our second booth, and especially for Fan Expo 23, we're going to make sure we have that extra set of hands, because really you need it when doing events like that. So again, 2 important lessons learned from Fan Expo. Always take a second booth when doing a show like Toronto Comic Con or Fan Expo, and make sure you have that extra set of hands. So these are lessons that we've learned. Having said that though, again, I do want to reiterate what I said at the very top of this video. Even with those lessons learned, Fan Expo 2022 was an unquestionable success for CanGeek Games and Collectibles. We owe it to all of you that came out to support us during Fan Expo. Thank you very much for stopping by and seeing us. We saw a lot of familiar faces, and that is greatly appreciated. I've said it multiple times, we could not continue to do this if not for the support of each and every one of you, so thank you very much. The next event up for CanGeek is the Barrie Game Exchange on Sunday, September the 18th. The Barrie Game Exchange bills itself as the largest video game pop culture show in Ontario at the very least. I can't speak for other provinces, obviously, but having done the Barrie Game Exchange several times now, I can tell you that that is a claim to fame that they absolutely deserve. It is a big, big show. It's a show that we always enjoy taking part in. So if you are in the Barrie area, please be sure to come by and see us on September the 18th. Also, keep a watch on our web store at CanGeek.com. We are regularly adding more upcoming events that we'll be involved in. And there is a very small possibility that there may be an event for us before the Barrie Game Exchange. But until that is officially confirmed, I don't want to say much more else about it, so just keep a watch on our web store. Also remember that CanGeek not only operates as a vendor, we operate as a show promoter, proudly presenting CompassCon. Our next CompassCon event is on Saturday, October the 15th in Richmond Hill, Ontario, and you can learn more about that event as well by visiting our web store at cangeek.com. So again, thanks very much everyone for your support. It's greatly appreciated. We'll talk soon, and we'll see you on the road soon as well. Until we do, however, stay safe, stay healthy, and take care of yourselves. Ciao for now.